So welcome to the Solar Austin Happy Hour. This will be a great celebration for our Clean Energy and Equitable Jobs initiative. If this is the first time that you've been in part of one of our happy hours, you might know that we've transitioned a little bit away from our traditional Shoals gathering into like a more remote presentation. So this is kind of like the team here, our board members and our lovely employee of Beryl. She's been manning this team ever since January. So she's been leading that. You can feel free to reach out to any of us at any time. There'll be more information at the end, but here's a little more about Solar Austin. We were created in 2002 as a chapter of the Texas Solar Energy Society. And then since then, we've been focusing on having a deeper impact in the community to make solar more accessible across Central Texas, just to, of course, mitigate the effects of climate change, but also help our communities be a little bit healthier and have a stronger local economy here. So if you want to volunteer with us, want to join us, feel free to send us an email, info@solaraustin.org. We do read those and we can communicate and help you out in any way possible. And then this is FTC Solar, which is our stellar sponsor of the year. They are a company made based out of here in Austin. Catherine can speak a little more about that. It's like she's also helped grow them a little bit in the past few months. Other megawatt sponsors are Recurrent Energy and Freedom Solar, some installers and power from partners, Brandon Energy. Their megawatt sponsors here is kilowatt sponsor, Pipermatics, that helped us out in this program. SunPro, Lighthouse, CD, and HEB. They've all contributed to making this nonprofit and these events run a little bit better. So thanks to our sponsors. And can't forget about the one sponsors, just Greenbelt Solar, Harris Energy Solution, Greener by Design, the Deering Group, and Clean Power Group. So we do welcome any other sponsors. If you have any ideas or if you want to contribute, please feel free to also send us an email at info@SolarAustin. I think that is, as you know, we are a nonprofit, so it's like we want to help push out these projects, projects a little bit more to the community. And here's a link if you want to donate. But we do appreciate also the donations that we've received for your attendance here. So thanks so much for the couple bucks, and that will help this program. Let's see. And so to speak more about the Equitable Clean Energy Jobs program, it started at the start of this year. So it was a combination of the city of Austin that they had a grant. We applied for the grant in combination with Austin University, and then partnered with the local companies, all to make it more possible to have a diverse clean energy workforce. So there is a pretty high barrier of entry when it comes to solar, to the solar industry, and there's a lot of passionate youth that want to get opportunities to work with those companies here. So the goal was to make it easier for underrepresented students to enter the clean energy sector. That's we partnered with Huston-Tillotson University, and Karen's support has been very monumental in getting this up and running. And then afterwards, we connected with the companies here that we'll hear later, such as Silver Electric, Campus Solar. We have 7X Energy, 8 Minute Energy, who will be unable to participate, as well as Native. All these are installers. And then we work together to develop those best practices to improve the diversity and inclusivity across the workforce in our local communities. So it's been going really well, as there's just been communication between all fronts. Of course, it's a pilot program, so we're always looking to improve it. And we look forward to having a second generation of this perhaps this fall or sometime next year as well. So we are always looking for other students or other companies that want to just offer some assistance, whether it's technical guidance or whether it's you want to host an intern or you want to be an intern for your friends. Feel free to reach out to us. Same email, info@solaraustin.org. And that way we can just make sure that this can continue thriving and then can continue helping out passionate individuals that want to join the solar sector. So that is about it for just our overall slides. And I do see that Maureen joined, as well as Rich from 7X. And so we can get started with a little bit of the introductions as well. So but just to give you guys an idea about how the event will run, is that we're going to be split into 2 different roundtables. It's going to be the first Paul's joined too. So The first roundtable will be of the installers, and there will be the employers that hosted the interns. They'll be asked a series of questions. We'll just have a free conversation about what this experience was over the past 10 weeks to host these interns. The pros, the cons, the challenges, but overall it's just the lessons learned so that other installers can learn from this experience. And then we'll also ask the students in the second roundtable as to like similar questions, anecdotes, and then that way we can have just an overall free-flowing discussion and with a Q&A from the audience. So feel free to ask your questions in the chat box at any time. We'll be moderating it. Beryl will help out a little bit, and then I'll be able to ask those questions at the end. But overall, I think that seeing as all the installers have joined, we can start with, let's see if we can I'll unmute you guys, and then we'll start with brief introductions. I'll stop sharing this. Let's see. So I'm going to unmute the installers. I'm going to ask you guys or the employers, and to tell me a little bit more about yourself and your role. So like your position at the company as well as the company itself. And then tell us a little bit more about how many employees are in your business, what's it made of, like, are you guys based out of Austin? Do you guys work in other places in the States? And then mostly is like, what is the reason that you guys chose to participate in this program? I think that is just to give the 30,000-foot degree overview for the audience, and then we'll ask the same for the interns. Is everyone unmuted? I think so. Let's see. Yeah, so if 7X wants to go first, and then I'll just kind of go off the list from 7X, and maybe Cam and Silver, the native. So you guys can get started.
Sure. Hey, this is Rich Clark. I lead the engineering group at 7X Energy. 7X is a utility scale solar developer. We've got 18 employees, most of them based here in Austin. We've been in business for 4 years. This is our first internship within the engineering program. We've had other interns that came from the UT School of Business and worked with our origination and finance team, but really wanted to participate in this program, really to just be more proactive, I think, about getting a more diverse group of employees at 7X.
I'll go, and I hope you all can hear me. I'm Marina Chola. I'm also at 7X Energy. I'm the manager of transmission planning at the group. I guess, addition to what Rich said, a lot of the reasons why, this program spoke to me is when I started off in this industry, I was in an internship role, and the person I interned under was also a woman of color, and it was very impactful to my career. So I felt like if I could also offer that, experience to somebody else, why not take that opportunity?
Thanks, guys. Paul, do you want to go next?
Yeah. First off, pardon, I just realized that the background screen has our fund in it. So I'm quite actively involved in this space. That includes investing on where the grid's going. At the same time, my role as a chief strategy officer with Native is really building on what they've established since 2007. Really have been ramping up on the commercial side as well as my role this past year has been really rebuilding the residential to a more digital footprint, and really excited to have Nakaisha on. This was our real first experience with a internship. And why are we part of this program? Because Beryl and Solar Austin did a great pitch. It was at a really good time. We had talked about diversity. We always thought that it was a little bit homogenous in the industry. So it was just perfect timing with this program, and Nakaisha's been great. She started with a very simple social media role, and has taken a proactive role in community engagement, some really interesting projects that we have in the pipeline. So have really appreciated the process. And then this really just will help us expand on kind of providing this type of leadership with, 7X Cam and a lot of the other players in the group as well. So really excited about the evolution of this program to see where it kind of evolves and participating in the next ones as well.
Thanks, Paul. And I think up next we can have Silver Electric. So Aaron was supervisor, but I see that Joe Silver is also on the line. But Aaron, if you want to introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Aaron Botany. I've worked with Silver Electric and Solar. As you see, Joe is here. He's the owner. I'm the operations manager for the company. We have about 15 regular employees in the business now. We're actually ramping up, fortunately. And we're based out of Leander mostly. We've never had an intern before, but yeah, we really enjoyed working with Louis. It was a great experience. It's kind of surprising. We expected one thing and then ended up, it's like, oh, well, that wasn't working out. And they ended up being super useful to us in other ways. So it was not what we expected, but definitely welcome. I can't really even remember why we decided. I think Joe just sent me an email one day that said, hey, look into this. And so I called up, and I think I spoke to Beryl as well. And like, all right, sounds great.
Aaron, it was kind of a marketing accident. It was one of those things where we got it from the Solar Austin. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I meant to like, hey, well, you should be a part of the happy hour or something like that. But the internship was a part of that. And Aaron jumped on it and registered us. And all of a sudden we got a notification that hey, your intern selection's like ready. And I was like, what are you talking about? What are we doing with an intern? We're an electrical company. But it was a really wonderful experience, and I'm super excited to see how it goes forward.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And then Carl, if you want to wrap up the intros for the employers.
Yeah, sure, I can do that. Yeah, so I'm Carl Ramsby with Cam Solar. My role at Cam is kind of always evolving. So to put a title to it is a little silly. But yeah, we kind of jumped on board late. I know I was in the original discussions with kind of the development of the program, and just obviously timing was just a little crazy. And then Beryl actually reached out and said, hey, we've got a misplaced intern, and Coco was without a home. So I was like, absolutely. Let's get Coco on board and whatever we need to do to facilitate, we'll do. So we are actually just getting started. I know most folks are wrapping up their program, but everything I do is a little unorthodox, so it's very welcome, and Coco is just jumping in and trying to fill in the gaps where she can, and I'm trying to do the best to make sure that she has a good experience with us. So yeah, so far so good. Coco's been a team player, and I'm super excited to see this relationship kind of develop, and hopefully have Coco around a long time. Why we joined this, like why are we part of this? Just kind of piggybacking off everybody else. This is it's the diversity thing for me. Like I feel like this industry is just a bunch of white bearded dudes like myself. So I like, believe it or not, I like seeing other faces that are different than mine. And that diverse crowd just brings in different types of knowledge and different ways of thinking and doing things. So I welcome that, and I think it'll make our company definitely flourish in the long run. So yeah, that's definitely why we're here.
Thanks. Much appreciated to everyone for the great introduction. You guys can reach out to them, find them online if you have any questions. Now to kind of add a little bit of context and see who these interns are, who these superstars are. To keep, for matters of consistency, we'll go with the interns at 7X. So Kristen, I don't think Kristen is here. But Joshua, if you can start us off, please, and introduce yourself, kind of, your role, where did you come from, and then kind of like what school you go to, and then why you decided to pursue an internship in solar with Solar Austin.
All right, okay. So hi guys, my name is Joshua Ilave. I'm currently a senior, a rising senior over at UT Austin, and I'm about to graduate come May 2021. I'm currently pursuing a degree in mechanical engineering, and my internship experience at 7X, currently a PV design intern, and I've really enjoyed it. You know, I've always wanted to go like into the renewable energy industry. However, unfortunately, you know, when you go to a career fair at UT, it's usually a bunch of oil companies trying to get mechanical engineers, and there'll probably be, if you're lucky, one solar company at the career fairs. So, you know, that's sort of what attracted me to the Huston-Tillotson program. Like, it was a great opportunity to get into renewable energy.
That's great. And then I don't think Kristen is on. I want to confirm.
Kristen had her first day of class today, so she texted and her class went long, but she will be joining as soon as she can. So just keep trucking.
Yeah, so then we have Nikaija over there who with the internship at Native Solar. So please, same introduction.
Hi everyone, my name is Nikaija Fralin. I'm currently from Wichita, Kansas, but I attend college at Huston-Tillotson University, located in downtown Austin. I am a junior this year, majoring in environmental studies with a minor in political science. So really why I joined Solar Austin is because this program was basically built for me, or people like me, a Black woman trying to get in the clean energy field. I just couldn't pass up that opportunity. And clean energy is kind of a huge deal for me, mostly because it's Black and brown communities being affected disproportionately within clean energy, and I just have a passion to help my community. So, yeah.
Thank you. Louis?
Oh, Louis, you're muted. There you go.
Sorry about that. Hey guys, my name's Louis. I'm about to be a sophomore at UT next year. I was actually a mechanical engineer last year, but I just transferred to architectural engineering over the summer. So I guess my role at Silver Electric is I came in as an installer / apprentice electrician, and I was going in the field, and things weren't going super well, as Aaron mentioned. There was a little like tension with my supervisor, and I ended up going into the office actually and taking on more of like I guess desk role. I guess I was helping with like spreadsheets and like stuff like that. So it was different experience than what I expected, but I really appreciated. I felt like I learned a lot, saw a lot more of like what the company was doing on the inside. So it was very valuable to me. And the reason why I wanted to do this program is because, well, my dad works for an oil and gas company, and I was a mechanical engineer, and I was sort of thinking about doing energy, but like I didn't really want to follow and like do like what my dad did. I didn't really think oil and gas was the future. I didn't really think it was good for the environment, and I care about like sustainability in the future. So I really thought that green energy would be what's next, and I was really looking for a way into it. So when I got a link about this in the UT National Society of Black Engineers group chat, I was like, oh, well, this would be perfect. So I just applied to it, and it ended up working out. So I'm really glad to be here.
Nice. We're glad to hear you too. So thanks. And Chandis or Coco.
Hi, I'm Shandis, also fondly known as Coco. I am a junior at Texas A&M San Antonio. I'm studying international business. I was a kinesiology major before this. I have my Associates of Science in Kinesiology. I love the study of the human body, physical movement, biology, all that fascinates me. But I didn't want to go into being a personal trainer. It's just not like the route I wanted to take with my life, but that's where I was headed. I did like a full my life is in flux. Like, what's up? I don't know. We're just rolling with it. So I was on Facebook many moons ago at the beginning of this year, and one of my dear friends actually works in the solar industry. She is hit with Solar Austin, so she had posted about the ECEJ program. I just clicked on the links, followed it. I was like, it can't be this easy for me to apply, and it was. And then I sort of forgot about what happened. Like a few months later, I got a message from Beryl, and she was like, hey, are you still interested? And I was like, sure I am. What am I doing? So I just sort of flew in blind by the seat of my pants. And I've just been winging it. I picked a job that was completely out of my realm of comfort. I've been a bartender and a waitress for like my whole life. So lots of customer service, lots of sociable skills. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be a solar panel installer. And so that's what I got picked to do. And then that fell through. So I bloomed a little bit later after my co-interns. Carl picked up the stray and gave me a little home at Cam Solar. So right now we're just figuring out where I fit. I'm a little fun puzzle piece made out of clay. So I'm super malleable, and we're just gonna figure out where I go. And that's what we're doing. And I'm so happy and so grateful for this opportunity to be a part of this. I've been telling everybody, they're like, what are you doing? And I'm telling them. So it's super fun. And I'm in San Antonio, so it's like not Austin. So it's very much word of mouth, and it's my mouth, and I talk a lot. So it's good. It's good. Good marketing.
Thanks. And thanks everyone. As many of you guys know, you guys work in the solar industry, we figure out a lot of things as we go. You know, we are kind of like a new sector, so that's a really good skill to have, and you know, the flexibility really pays off. But thanks everyone for those introductions. Now we're going to kind of break it up into the first roundtable. So we're going to have the employers kind of answer some questions, you know, just kind of that they could reflect on how this opportunity has been. The internship does last 10 weeks, and as Coco and Carl said, they were kind of the late joiners. So I think they were in week 3. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. So right now I do have kind of like a question about, this is pointed towards 7X, you know, so CAM, Silver, and Native. This year has been an unpredictable year in many different ways. You know, we have the COVID pandemic, we have the Black Lives Matters movement that has also sprawled up. You know, and this internship program was meant to start before that. So many of you guys had that role like in mind for your interns. But could you guys describe a little bit more about like the challenges that your company dealt with these past like 10 weeks? And then how did you guys handle the challenges, and what about like this intern that you got like placed with? You know, how are you guys able to adapt to this crazy 2020 with your intern in mind? So 7X, would you guys kind of shine some light as to like how your internship has changed and work culture has also changed?
Yeah, sure. I can jump first. So yes, 2020 has certainly been an interesting year so far. I will say, big picture wise at 7X, I think the business as usual has somewhat stayed relatively the same. Specifically for my role as, you know, in the transmission department, a lot of the projects that we work on are long-term and behind the computer. So the day-to-day workload relatively stayed the same. The biggest adjustment by far was working remotely, you know, 100% of the time, right? And, you know, I'd say the company did a good job with fostering that transition into that, you know, 100% work from home. In terms of Kristen coming in as an intern, luckily a lot of the work that she had to do, all she really needed was a computer and access to internet. However, you know, we did, you know, lose a little bit of the, you know, communal feeling and the synergies, you know, that we had internally. You know, 7X, we're kind of a big family. We do, you know, lunch together on Fridays. We walk around the hallways and chat day to day. A lot of the software I use for my specific role, it makes a little bit more sense to interact in person. It was a little bit disrupted trying to do that, you know, with a video chat with Zoom. You have lagging, you know, so certain things were a little bit difficult. And I think in terms of Kristen, you know, going from, you know, this being her first internship experience, getting used to that, waking up, you know, in the morning, driving to work, sitting at a desk for, you know, 8 hours, then, you know, kind of adjusting to that kind of life, I think was a little bit of a shock to her initially. But, you know, myself too, sitting at home for 8 hours, I hadn't done that in a long time. So we both kind of, you know, muddled through it together. I thought it was really good that during, you know, the BLM movement the last couple of months, it was something that affected both Kristen and I. She's also an African-American woman. I think she'll be on the call later. But what was nice about that experience, well, not nice, but helpful with that experience is that, you know, we were both able to candidly talk about the issues surrounding that, being that we're both, you know, women of color. And it allowed us to kind of just push it to the side so we can muddle through our work, because it was something that had to be discussed because it was so impactful. And I think that kind of drives to the importance sometimes of like having that diversity, of having somebody, you know, or just an openness of talking about certain cultural issues that might be a little bit uncomfortable, but they do impact individuals and, you know, the level of work and output you put out when you're dealing with such, you know, large scale magnitude issues. You know, it is nice to kind of, you know, unravel. And certainly I had internal teammates at 7X who also reached out, and, you know, we worked through it. So I'm hoping 2020 will ease off a little bit with the last few months, but, you know, we did the best that we could, and I think we had a good, valuable time with it.
Thanks, Rich. Anything to add on that front? It's like perhaps a year.
Can I do something? Excuse me. Let me do something before, with all respect. Hey, Allison, I think we missed one of our interns.
Yes.
Yes, Allison.
Yes.
Yes, you know.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I jumped the gun over there.
That's what we're here for.
Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you.
Hi, Kenneth. Thank you. Yeah. I don't think Stephanie was able to make it, but I have someone else here, Sarah Pendergast. She's also from 8 Minute, and I would consider her also someone very important into my developing the internship. So if any questions moving forward, I think she would also be a great person to ask about my experience there. But hi, my name is Allison Vargas. I am a recent grad from the University of Texas at Austin with degrees in sustainability and communication and leadership. I believe that renewable energy has a large role in rebuilding the energy sector in terms of getting away from fossil fuels, but also a way to uplift communities not only economically, but in providing information about clean energy. I decided to participate in the ECEJ program because I thought it was the perfect way to be mentored in the solar industry, as I never had exposure before this summer. I want to be a part of the renewable energy movement across Texas. So I wanted to be a part of this unique program that has set its goal to foster the next green change makers. So thank you everyone, the board and donors, for letting people like me be a part of this. Thank you.
I can't believe we left you out. Thank you, Allison. And yeah, I mean, parallel to that, I guess maybe if Sarah wants to offer a little bit of introductions to who she is, then we can resume with the roundtable. We can have Sarah participate too. I'm sorry I didn't know about
that. Sure, happy to talk. I'm a little mad at you, Allison, for making me talk, but excellent speech. We loved having her. I don't know, we were a utility scale solar and storage company based in Austin with offices in California. I heard about this program and I just like really care about these topics. Similar to Nakaja said, that Black and brown communities are disproportionately impacted by pollution and climate change. And so we need the best minds in this industry to create better solutions. And if we're leaving out folks through either implicit or explicit reasons, like that's a problem. So anyway, Alice was awesome. She helped with our HR team and our policy team be more effective in our work and craft a education program that we'll be implementing over the next year.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so, yeah, that's a big win. And then we can kind of like jump back into the first question, and then Sarah can give a little bit of insight at the end. But so Rich, is there anything that you can kind of speak about how your experience day-to-day work has changed with COVID and with the BLM Matters movement, and how that transition it kind of affected the internship?
I think Maureen covered it pretty well from the 7X side. I think another thing we had to adapt to adjust for kind of students getting to learn more about what everyone does within the company is kind of scheduled these lunch and learns to happen during lunch, where we got a different employee of the company to kind of speak. You know, we had someone from origination, someone from finance, a developer, and kind of talk about what they did. You know, without doing that, I think Maureen, like you mentioned, they'd kind of go around and talk to everyone and get to learn all that. So we kind of had to force those type of meetings to do, because they weren't going to happen otherwise. And Maureen did a great job of that. I'm glad we were able to kind of provide that for the interns.
Nice. That's a really good approach, and lunch and learns kind of can help promote the inter-knowledge changing, right? With the intercompany knowledge changing. You know, and maybe we can see if Cam had since 8-Minute Energy is kind of similar to 7X, and like maybe Sarah can speak a little bit more, and we can have that parallel right there about how you guys had also had to adapt with COVID and the BLM Matters movement, and keeping Allison's internship in mind.
Sure. So with COVID, I'd worked remotely anyway, and our Austin team had worked remotely anyway, so it didn't really change that. And then California, they'd worked in offices, but they all went remote. So Allison was actually able to work with a supervisor who wasn't in Texas, in part because of COVID. Everyone was going remote anyway, so she was more receptive to having an intern who is not in her office. So that was interesting. We also implemented a more frequent, like, all staff meetings, which maybe helped with Allison's feeling welcome at the company. And one challenge was, I think other people have mentioned too, just like less of the informal chatting, and you had to do a little bit more reaching out and setting up a phone call versus just having coffee or lunch with someone. So that was a challenge. So my colleagues and I tried to do more reaching out to Allison than maybe we typically would for an intern. Hopefully she felt welcome because of that, but I know that could have been a challenge. With Black Lives Matter, we had a diversity and inclusion task force prior to the upsurge in interest on these issues this spring, but we did have some additional staff members being vocal and interested in doing more work internally in terms of hiring and our supply chain, our supplier contracts, and internal culture. So there's going to be there's increase there, and some donations that were matched by our CEO, which we're very thankful for. So we'll see. But Allison emphasized in her presentation the other day for our company that just needs to be a long-term commitment. Can't just be a short-term interest in Black lives. It needs to be a long-term commitment to racial justice. So hopefully I'll continue pushing that as well.
Thank you. And then moving on to like the other local guys. So maybe Paul over at Native, like, can you explain a little bit about how COVID impacted Native and as well as the BLM, and perhaps like, you know, all this adaptation, how it affected the internship?
Yeah, it impacted us right at the beginning because we had a community outreach position that really kind of went over like a lead balloon in this environment, because literally we were asking people to go and engage with the community while the cities were shutting down. So the initial impact was offsetting, but what I really appreciate is that we're all impacted by this situation, and we have really all strive to come together to be more conscious about everybody's proclivities, about their preferences, and it really has allowed us to kind of look at the way that we manage our workforce in a different way, meaning that we were always in meetings together. We were always at this time on Tuesday at 1 o'clock, this time on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. And so it really allowed us to be a little bit more flexible with that. So, and it's a lot cleaner outside. So I like the fact that we are polluting a little bit less. With the movements in general, I think there's been a lot of impact in Austin. You know, the young man that lost his life early on, and I spend a lot of time talking to police officers and city officials. So I think to the extent that it really kind of pushes the needle forward, and someone said it really great, we all need to move forward for the social injustice. This is one action that we can make a stand in. And I was glad that something like this program was available at the time. We had, this big movement, the BLM at one, and then a lot of movements in general that have kind of shocked the nation and really made me solidify that there are clowns to the left of me and jokers to the right. And I just try to be logical as I can and push forward with doing the right thing happily in the middle. And I think from impact in terms of Nakaisha's role, it kind of helped her out. Hopefully she wanted to actually spend a little bit more time remote. She got to be closer to her family. Normally she would be here in Austin. So what I think I really liked about all the happenings that we've really kind of dealt with is as a species, we've really come together to really work towards solutions and stop complaining about the numerous issues that we can and focus on the opportunities right in front of us. And that's what I look forward to continue to doing with these programs. So
yeah, definitely agree. So thanks, Paul, for shining that light. And, I'm also curious about Aaron over there with Silver Electric. And, if Louis started up on the roof, how did you guys adapt when there weren't any roofs to go up because people were scared of COVID, so like, or overall, like how did COVID affect like Silver Electric, and then that affect Louis' role to like work behind the desk maybe?
As far as how the COVID and everything affected us, to be honest, it didn't really change much for us. We were already working from home for the most part. We actually just over this time developed out and started building out our office and started coming in. Louis wasn't exactly on the roof, so we are both in commercial electric and residential solar, so we had a bit of diversity. So Louis got an opportunity to go into the field and on a car wash we were working on, and experience some hard truths about some supervisors that you got to learn sometimes, unfortunately. But unfortunately, fortunately, not unfortunately for us, there weren't really any too much differences when it came to COVID because we were already working from home. So how did we handle the challenges? We just basically kept doing what we were already doing. We made sure to stay diverse so that when there wasn't a lot of solar projects, we still had commercial projects to work on. And then, there were a few times where Louis was working from home and I was working from home and we had worked together, but it wasn't, I'm pretty used to it myself, and I'm sure he is, being a young guy in the computer age. So it wasn't really too much of a change for us doing anything different.
That's good to hear. And I think that it can be maybe a little bit different from Carl's perspective, right? Because I think most of the solar sales that we're done, we're going door to door, and I think that, or at least residential sales. And I don't know, perhaps Cam had a different strategy, a different impact as to how, or a different way in which COVID impacted their market. So perhaps like Carl, do you see kind of like how COVID impacted you, and perhaps like how you thought, hey, now I have Coco, how can she help me out?
Yeah, so man, I would say COVID it threw everybody for a loop there for a minute. It was really just the beauty about our company was it was a shift, right? So it's like, oh wow, we can't do what we were doing. Let's take a shift. So we have markets all over Texas. Here in Austin, we don't go door to door, so it really wasn't a huge change for me. Now I do a lot of events. That's something that I really like a lot. We're pretty heavily involved in a lot of community outreach and in the music industry and different areas. So I had a lot of things just ready to go for spring, and so it just got completely squashed. As did a lot of folks out there. So yeah, definitely it was just a quick pivot. You know, our branches down in Laredo, they do a lot of door to door. So that pretty much had to stop. I mean, you can't be going to people's doors in the middle of a pandemic. It's just, it's not attractive. And it's very off-putting to a lot of people. So yeah, we definitely just made that quick pivot and started doing everything remotely. And I think everybody has kind of touched on that. It's going to be the new normal, more than likely. I mean, there's a lot of good in doing things remotely. Obviously there are their challenges, but I think as we continue through this, we're going to continue getting over those hurdles. And generally speaking, we work well with chaos, to be honest with you. We kind of like the randomness. I mean, that's why we ride that solar coaster. So that, and then, you know, just kind of touch a little bit on the BLM movement. I mean, that's a part of every one of us here is obviously aware of what's going on. And for me personally, it's just a reminder day to day that, you know, you got to be a booster of black. I growing up as a white man, like, you know, I've got privileges and have had privileges that a lot of people of color have not. And so what's really awesome, I think, about Cam Solar is not only myself, but, you know, the owner of the company is down at Huston-Tillotson, you know, marching with thousands of people. And it's just, it's a really amazing feeling. But ultimately we have a lot of work to do. And that just understanding that there are that many people that feel the same way you do is definitely life-changing. And we just got to keep that movement going and realize that we have voices and we have resources, and we can use those resources in different ways to make sure that the people that are being marginalized are getting taken care of, and they are being treated just as equally as anybody else. So yeah, that's definitely, this is a really kind of unprecedented time right now. And I think that we're just rolling with it just like anybody else. And Coco, like she had mentioned earlier, she's just kind of, she's rolling with it, and she's flying by the seat of her pants, and that works really, really well with me, because I kind of do the same thing. So yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to continue this relationship with Coco and see where it goes, because I think she's a very intelligent woman, and I believe if she sticks around with Cam Solar for a while, it could be a great relationship.
Nice. So thank you guys. You know, it's pretty clear that we have to maintain this momentum, and that the impact in which we're having in our communities is pretty grand. We're trailblazing through our different hoops that have been placed in our way, and we're finding a way to hop over those barriers. Overall, I'm sure that all you guys saw that your interns are among the brightest of their classes, right? And they're very intelligent people. I want to know a little bit about how it was for the process of you guys training them into understanding whether it's your internal systems, whether it's solar, whether it is, you know, just things overall. Where did you find there was the steepest learning curve? What tools were you guys able to give the students so that they can kind of live up to that measure, and then at the same time kind of integrate with the rest of the team? And if you could share any sort of stories in which your interns really surprised you, that would be awesome too. So we'll take it off with the same order. So yeah, 7X, if you would, Maureen and Rich, shine some light on that.
Yeah, I think for the engineering side, we just kicked Josh off with just some real live examples and use those to work with. So we kind of just hit the ground running with stuff that, you know, doing layouts and production estimates with the tools that we use in the group, and just use those to train them on. So I thought it was good. We got to use real examples. But yeah, it was kind of just hit the ground running as fast as we could.
Yeah, I'd say with Kristen, starting with her, I wanted her to kind of get a grasp of how, I guess, big the transmission world is. So I purposely loaded her initially with a bunch of training from different markets. And I knew she was kind of drinking out of a hose at that time. But I wanted her to see on a large scale that, there's so many aspects and, areas in this industry, and even specifically transmission, that she could tap into and kind of see which ones she was, clinging more onto and which ones she was kind of gravitating naturally towards, and kind of push that, agenda towards her so she could actually, find something that she was enjoying more so than steering her into an area that she just, didn't have any interest in. So she did a really good job. It was a lot of work, a lot of things to learn. It was certainly a steep learning curve, but she did a good job and she adapted very well.
Thanks. And then maybe Sarah can also speak a little bit. It sounds like you guys had a brand new role, brand new, area in your company. So what was the learning curve and how did you guys support?
Sure. So I wasn't her direct supervisor, so I don't have like a good answer, but some things I tried to do to help make sure she felt like set up for success is I started the industry pretty recently, just about a year ago. So I'm still writing down an acronym every meeting to Google after the meeting. So I tried to express that to her to know that that's normal. I found an acronym list that another coworker had sent me that I shared, and a list of solar companies in Austin and organizations around her interests so that she could feel like she had a future in the industry as well after this internship. And then since I wasn't her supervisor, just tried to reach out early on to get to know her and what her goals were and a little bit about her background. I went to UT also, so that was an easy connection. But because I wasn't her supervisor, I just let her know that she could ask me the questions that she had so she wouldn't feel judged by them. Especially because I was new and because I didn't have any power over her, that she could ask me questions. I was disappointed that she did not have dumber questions. She was quite astute and learned quickly. The thing that I loved that she showed her initiative and how quickly she could onboard into a role, even though remote, is last week she did a policy task for a colleague of mine. And she didn't just do that task, she also added a guide for how to replicate that task in the future for future projects. So that's not something I would have thought of, and we didn't really ask her to do that, but she really thought about the long-term implications of the work that she was doing to make sure that we could recreate it and reuse that information in the future. So.
Nice. Thank you guys for giving her that sense of comfort, and look, it's young people can bloom after that, and be able to take it one step above and beyond. Paul, any sort of, experiences in which you saw that there was like a steep learning curve, and any sort of tools you were able to hand over so that it can be a little bit easier to learn, or any stories?
Yeah, I think the biggest learning curve was me learning how to be a better manager. I think in the beginning, I'm used to working with more experienced hires from a lot of my other roles, and I think taking on this role with Native was a learning curve for me, because I was throwing a lot of stuff at Nikaja, and she was being such a good sport, and just at the end of it, she's like, "Can you show me how to do any of this?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, some direction." So I think once I learned how to be a better manager and took some real, which was good, because it really allowed me to take the time and really think through kind of my process and how we're working together. And I really learned way more about myself in this process. And I do believe Nikaja learned a little bit, probably how to be patient with a manic manager at times. So that was actually really an awesome discovery. And then really the part that I got out of it most was just to see where Nikaja came from, and in terms of her skill set and what she could do, and then where she is now. She's really able to take things with very limited learning and really take it to the next level. And now it's almost hands-free. We've got a new sales manager in there, and then she's able to kind of hit the ground running. And I even had a talk with him. I haven't shared this with Nikaja, but I was like, "So do you think that we still need that role?" And he's like, "Absolutely. She's a really good part of the team." And it was almost like, even though she was an internship, she melded as kind of a full-time employee or part-time employee now that she's got school. And I think the proof is in the pudding. Even though I'm not a big fan of idioms, we ended up keeping her on, and she still works with us, and we're happy to stay with her as long as she can put up with some of our craziness and throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Hey, Paul, this is Kenneth. I think what you just said is a very powerful statement, man. I think anytime someone can acknowledge that they are learning through a process, and particularly a process where it deals with people of color, I think that's a very powerful. And for you to be able to say it in this form, I just want to tell you, I just want to acknowledge that I think that's a very powerful place to be, my friend.
No, thank you, Kenneth. I appreciate it, and appreciate the program. It's been good for all of us.
Yeah. Learning about ourselves and taking time to self-reflect isn't always easy, and sometimes you need some fresh blood and some fresh eyes to show you, hey, you could do a little bit better, and take a minute and breathe. So.
Thanks for being patient with me, Nikija.
It works both ways. I think, Aaron, do you have anything to add kind of about like a steep learning curve for Louis and it's kind of any single stories in which you mind sharing as to kind of resources?
You can take one. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, let me take that one.
Here.
No, there it is. All right, sorry. Technical malfunction. So yeah, Louis started with us, and at first he came on as electrical apprentice. That's what we were looking for. We did not have an internship plan or anything in place. We didn't really know what to get or expect. And he very quickly, our solar projects were kind of out of the we were out of solar projects at the time because of COVID. And so I put him on my commercial electrical projects, and he had a personality conflict with our supervisor. And Louis might not have been the best choice as an electrical level 1 apprentice for what we're looking for. And so we brought him into the shop and had him doing inventory, which was personally hilarious to me because he's asking me questions like, what is a raceway? What is conduit? What is, a coupling? He has no idea, about any of this stuff, but he organized our shop, did a complete inventory. And after that, we just started giving him more and more complicated tasks, and he just kept accomplishing them. And he personally restored my faith in his generation, because to this point I would literally not hire anybody in their 30 to do anything because I can't trust them. I've had such bad experiences. But Carl, you know what I'm talking about. And he just overcame it and kept accomplishing, and we kept giving him more things to do, more complicated things to do, and he kept just doing it and accomplishing and giving him vaguer outlines, vaguer goals. And he would turn in something. Maybe it's not exactly what I'm looking for. Maybe it's not exactly right. But he put more effort into it and accomplished it to a better degree than I can honestly say that I have seen in a long time in a lot of different people. And it was very heartening, and just the lack of experience was his only detriment to society, and his only holdback is the fact that he's not, 26, 28 years old in a full career yet. And I'm very amazed to see what happens with someone of his character, what he's going to become as an adult once he's through this program, once he's out of college, what the world is going to be with his generation as they come to be.
Wow, Joe. Very glowing review. I can't really say too much more on top of that. I was just going to say the fact that, when it came to learning curves, Louis didn't seem to have much of a learning curve at all. Everything that we threw at him, he just took it and ran with it, and that's what impressed both of us. So he didn't really work with solar at all, so we didn't have to work with, aside from that, the inventory that he did, but I think he did a great job at that, and anything he didn't know, he found out. And so, it's just awesome the way he worked out. And the expectation that we had originally and the one that we had at the end of the program were just completely different. Blew us away. Thanks, Louis.
You don't know, maybe in future generations you can find the younger people using, alternate reality technology to scan those missing pieces and do the inventory for you guys in 2 seconds. So there's definitely a lot of hidden talent out there, and don't underestimate the youth, because they are our future. So as we're kind of like wrapping up, I want to like make sure that we make sure to that for everyone to keep into consideration what's something, just like one very quick thing, recommendation for you guys in the future for a new company who would be doing this program. Like, what's something that you guys like really learned that say, hey, had I known this when we started, things would have gone a little bit easier, or like I would have done a better job, or my intern would have excelled more. So we'll just make it quick, and we'll go with the same order of Rich and Maureen.
I can jump first. I think first of all, it was a great program. I'd love to participate in it again. I think a piece of advice that I would give is certainly, organize like a structure of objectives for the intern. And so you could see them kind of progress and grow throughout the experience. I really like the lunch and learns that we did internally. So it's possible to integrate your intern or to introduce your intern and, teach them the synergies within your company. I think that's important. One thing that I got from Kristen towards the end was, she was able to explore different, even if she doesn't want to do power systems modeling, for example, she was able to see other variations or other fields in this industry. And I was able to, we fostered that together. So I thought that was really beneficial, and it was good. And just the candidness and the openness and the receptiveness that she had throughout the process. And I think both ways. And I think it's a great program. I'm looking forward to participating in it again.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I think the other huge benefit of the program too is just Solar Austin and the program with Huston-Tillotson, being able to identify and screen candidates. I mean, that was something I think we've been looking for and hadn't been able to make much progress on. So like having that part of the program for us was extremely beneficial. And obviously we've got amazing candidates and students. So it worked on our side. We're really happy with that.
Thanks. And then Sarah?
Sure. So I agree with what Rich just said about the matching of candidates. That made it really easy for me to pitch to my HR team to hire Allison as an intern or go through this program to hire an intern, because I told them that Beryl had already interviewed folks. She had a list of resumes. You could tell her what you are looking for, what projects you have, and then she could recommend people specific to that. So that made it super easy. This is our first year with an internship program, so they're kind of figuring it out. So that was awesome. I don't really know what other support that you guys gave. So things that maybe would have helped were just giving encouragement to Allison and other interns to be super proactive, to ask questions or set up coffee dates or phone calls with their colleagues in different departments so they can learn about the industry, that they're not just stuck in whatever department they are currently in, but they're welcome and encouraged to reach out to other coworkers at the company to learn, because as adults, we're fine talking to students to learn about the industry, and we want good people in it. So just extra encouragement for students to do that.
Thanks. Paul?
Yeah, sorry. What was the question again? I was typing and I'm not good at multitasking.
Yeah. So overall, like just doing a little bit of reflection and seeing like one very quick recommendation you would make either to a future company that's thinking about bringing on an intern or to you guys when you think about participating in this program again, that would make it a little bit easier for both your experience and the intern's experience.
Yeah, future company, absolutely. I hope we can do our part in marketing the program, although I know it will get competitive with the resources. In terms of the feedback, and I know Beryl probably knows that I'm going to say this, but I was always really wanting to see more feedback on how we're managing ourselves as a company. Every company that I've worked with has really been on this 360 feedback. Took it from the McKinsey model where everything's a flat manager. There is no boss. We all have our points. There is a hierarchy. I really like the idea about information sharing about what's going on in the industry to the point that it doesn't trip on any non-disclosure agreements. And then in terms of being better prepared, this goes back to, and thanks again for the shout out, Kenneth, just really preparing our team for the internship. That's something that we didn't do before. And I think, in retrospect, we wouldn't have known that, but in the future, we're obviously going to be more prepared for that in terms of the treatment and the attention, and then the patience on the manager's part.
Thanks, Paul. And then Aaron, and then we'll have Carl wrap it up.
Yes, as far as, the experience went pretty smooth for us, so there's not really too many hurdles. I would say probably the advice that I would give to other companies or to us in the future is just to have a better idea of knowing what we need and are looking for in an intern before we go out to it. Like I said previously, we kind of surprised ourselves with what was going on. We just jumped head first and didn't really know what was happening, and then just ran with it. So in the future, I would probably consider a little bit more about what we actually need from an intern, and be able to make a job posting not just about an apprentice. Actually think about what the company needs to look for.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the selection process, and it was great when we were looking for one intern, and we were offered a choice of a few by Beryl, and the pre-work that Solar Austin did, that Beryl did, in providing us with a person was very helpful and appreciated, and that was great.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, I'll kind of chime in, I guess, wrap this up. But man, I think y'all have done a knockout job on this, and look forward to doing this in the future. Our scenario and how we Coco and I have been working together is a little bit odd compared to everybody else's. Everybody else gets to be their normal intern self, while we're just still winging it. No, so we're still in the beginning stages. So we have got a lot of feedback that can come later. I bet Coco would probably be a better person to answer these questions than I would be. But I think as long as more feedback, like if you're getting more feedback from the interns, which I'm sure you are, but maybe sharing it with me so I know what Coco's thinking about every ridiculous thing that I do. But no, it's all good. Y'all are doing a wonderful job, and we are gonna just continue rolling with this and doing it up.
Nice. Sounds like a good plan. It sounds like you have a good partner for success that can be as malleable as what was it that you said? A clay puzzle piece. So that's going to fit in different positions. So thank you everyone for taking these 10 weeks in 3 weeks for some of us, for housing the intern and overall just being a role model for them in different ways. I'm sure that now we'll hear a little bit more from their side. Now it'll be time for the intern roundtable, and then they'll show their stories. I think Kristen just joined us.
Yes.
There. So welcome, Kristen. You came just in time. Maybe I don't want to put you in the spot, but we already went a little bit through the introductions, and now we're going to kind of start the intern roundtable. So before I start my first question, I want to, if you can introduce yourself and kind of give us a little bit about who you are, where you come from, what university you go to, and overall, like what drove you to solar and this internship program at Solar Austin. Can you?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So I am Kristen Krett, and I'm a student at ACC. I'm going to ACC for an associate's in renewable energy technology. And what was the other questions? I'm sorry.
Where it's okay. Where you come from, and then what drove you to apply for this internship and to work in solar?
So I'm from not born but raised in Austin, and what drove me to join the internship was just the need for experience. That's a big thing about any industry is you can go to school, you can get a degree, but for a lot of employers, it's just a piece of paper. So the experience is really important, and whenever I found out about it, I was like, this is, you know, what I'm actually going into the career or going into the field for, is to do like hands-on work. So yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, thanks so much for being here. And so now we're kind of like going to go off and hear a little bit more about the interns and how these past 10 weeks have been. So first off, like, you know, the solar coaster, as many of us call it, is just like kind of like an area of hustle and bustle, and that can be a little bit unpredictable, you know. And for many of you, it could have been like your first internship experience or your first work experience. So I'm curious how this is compared to your previous work or professional experiences. If this was your first, I know that some of it was remote, others wasn't. But if you could just kind of like speak a little bit about what you felt while you were interning for this, for these companies. You know, did you like it? Did you end up like saying, you know, this isn't for me, or like, I love it because I'm doing X or Y? So maybe we'll start off with Josh, and then we can go with Nikaija and Louie, and then wrap it up with Allison, Candace, and Kristen.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So let's see here. Hi guys, I'm Josh. So I want to say this experience compared to the other two internships I've held, the first internship I ever held was at a plastic manufacturing company over out in Port Lavaca. And like compared to like that internship, well, unlike that internship, I was inside doing a lot of like busy like computer work, obviously just because of the coronavirus. I want to say that like that, and compared to the internship I had previously, like this has been the most, I've been the most engaged compared to every other internship, just because like I'm so interested in the topic of like solar energy. Like before, like it was manufacturing plastic, and the second one was doing analyses on explosions and safety and risk assessments. So it's like, okay, all right. So I've always wanted to go into solar. Like granted, the last internship we went into the desert and did a lot of explosive testing. That was cool, but I did really enjoy this internship. Like I enjoyed like learning from Avanjit and Rich, like how to use AutoCAD, how to actually throw parameters to PVSys and see how you develop like energy models and costing for all these utility scale solar fields. I feel like, okay, I'm actually here doing the thing that I've always wanted to do, which is like accelerates the adoption of renewable energy. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. In terms of the coronavirus and what its impact was on my experience, I really think it would have, I think it's been better. I do enjoy just waking up in the morning and rolling onto my chair and then just start working. I do enjoy that, but what I did not enjoy was a few missed opportunities to actually, you know, go onto the field and see the, you know, what our work and what our designs actually end up being. Like I didn't get to see the solar fields or anything like that. So, but that's the only downside. Other than that, yeah, I really enjoyed this experience. I learned a lot, and working with Rich and Maureen was a really good positive time for me. Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's great to hear. You know, I think while we're on the 7X subject, and I know I kind of mentioned Nikaija would be next, but perhaps like it would make more sense for Kristen to go since you also entered at 7X.
Yes. Okay. So this was my first internship. Sorry, I like prepared some of the responses. So this is my first internship, but I have prior work experience in retail and fast food. So this was a completely different experience from those. For the structure, for the supervision, and the project, everything about it was completely different, because it's like you're constantly working with people, like not just your peers and your coworkers, but also the customers, obviously. And this one was at home. I only saw my coworkers on Thursdays for the lunch and learns. And I would talk to Maureen pretty often. We would communicate through email. Every time I would finish an assignment, she would, I think I'll talk about that later actually. But yeah, so there's multiple supervisors normally for other jobs. And then for this job, there's just, you know, Maureen. And we would talk to Drew sometimes, but it was just Maureen. And also, unlike most of my prior jobs, I actually learned something that I could use for my future every time. Like every single assignment taught me something I could use. So yeah.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah. And so maybe Nikaja.
Yeah. I interned this summer with Native Solar as the social media and content intern, basically taking control of their social media platforms and then creating a blog for the website. So I've had a few internships in the past that were related to my degree. But the most comparable one was my internship with Open Road Renewables, which is a solar developer company. The biggest difference I can say in the structure was with Native Solar. It was much more independent and much more kind of like I can have control of what I'm doing. And with my other internship, it was much more like, this is what you need to be doing at this time, and here are the exact steps to get it done. And I like that because it gave me more free will to explore how I can do things that fit me personally and how I work. Yeah, and then, and of course, my other internship was in person. So I was able to meet my other coworkers, be able to create a bond with them. And this one, it was like, I was working very closely with Paul, which I loved because it was, we were able to develop a much more friendlier connection. And I felt more comfortable speaking to him as my supervisor than my in-person one, because of course it was like a building. I felt like I had to be more formal with everyone. And then with Paul, it was just more like, if I needed help, I wasn't afraid to reach out to him for things. So yeah.
Nice. That's a good lesson learned. And I'm wondering about Louis, like how was it for you compared to the other experiences that you've had?
Okay, I just want to start off by saying thank you to Joe and Aaron for the very nice comments they said about me earlier. I really appreciate that. And so this actually wasn't my first experience, my first work experience. It was my first internship or anything related to like the professional field I want to enter. But in the past, I've worked as like a lifeguard, a swim instructor, and I was also a receptionist at a gym. They were very different jobs, but some of the skills actually did kind of carry over into what I did over at Silver Electric. There were, I guess, like, I really enjoyed the experience overall. It was great. Being in the office, I really enjoyed that part of it. They made me feel really welcome. Aaron was very, approachable and very welcoming. So they really made me feel welcome when I got in. I got along great with Joe as well. He was very personable when I first met him. I really got off on the right foot, I think, with both of them, and we just got along the entire time. It was hard in the field when my supervisor was being a little difficult with me, but I actually really appreciated that experience. It was really good for me to go out on the construction site and see what it was like to be out there all day in the heat and sweating, because like I think I want to go like a construction route in engineering, and so it's like really good to like have the experience and like know like I guess what it feels like to be out there at least, you know. So yeah, it was great. I'm glad I did.
Nice. Thank you, Louis. And Allison?
Yes, so this was my first corporate internship. So it was definitely, I was surprised at how streamlined the processes were. But in terms of structure, this was an opportunity to see solar industry and its projects from being developed all the way to the end. So I had experience in jumping into different team meetings and really learning about the different roles and how they all come together to make solar projects come to life. In terms of supervision, my supervisor, Stephanie, was very kind and always set up weekly meetings. Those always ran very long, but they were also always full of advice and motivation to keep developing my career in the solar industry. And I could say the same for any team member that I met in 8 Minute. Everyone was always very, very kind and open to any questions that I had. So that's how mine went.
That's awesome to hear. And I think last is Chandis. Chandis, how was this experience so far for these 3 weeks compared to like your previous work experiences and internship?
Well, So this is my very first internship ever. And again, it was just like hey, what am I gonna do? Here's this thing. So that's sort of like how my whole life has gone. So I'm super grateful for this opportunity because I know how important internships are on your resume when you graduate from college. I watched my husband, he's super smart, tons of work experience, graduated, great degree, super hard to find a job in this field because he didn't have an internship. So the moment I got this opportunity, I was like, man, I'm chasing it. So I've just been like really enjoying it. As far as all my other jobs go, so I walk in to my other jobs, which are all like customer service-based jobs, and they have a standard SOP. They're like, here's your book, here's your uniform, here's what you're gonna do with your life for the next however many days I schedule you. So it's not really like you have the variances because every table, every guest is different, but you have a lot of similarities because it's like, well, this is what I'm gonna do when this person says this to me, sort of thing. So right now with Carl having a lot of things in flux, it's a little exciting. It's also a little bit like, okay, but what am I doing? Because I'm so used to having that structure. And then I think as well coming in when I am, so it's in the fall, again, classes are just starting. I just started this week. So looking at my course load, which is not even that crazy when I registered, I was like, this isn't that bad. But looking at my course load and looking at the workload, I think it's important if you guys are going to do this internship while students are in school to just really have parameters around it, because everything is online right now. So with classes, you have to, where before I would be able to go to my school, okay, cool, I'm in class this many hours this day, I have this days this week I'm going to school. But now my classes are asynchronistic. I go to class whenever the heck I want to. So it's just sort of like trying to find that balance could be a little bit, especially if because they will in every new. So I think that's also very important to just be able to, I guess, the employers having more structure and knowing more of what they expect from their intern and their employee. A lot of times this might be our first experience. It could help with, not so much further work.
I think, yeah, through a couple of those interruptions, we definitely heard you loud and clear. So appreciate you guys like speaking out and giving those recommendations as well as like good experiences. I see that we're kind of like wrapping up on time. I don't want to cut you guys off by any means. This is a celebration for you guys. But I do want to ask a little bit more about like.
Hey, Paul. I'll say one before we do that. One of the things that I like to do is for us to acknowledge the interns. And when we went through this process, this has been what I call a 360. And I'm glad we have, and I think Paul mentioned it, the 360. This has been a 360. When we to the interns, when we interviewed you and you walked through that interview, we knew that you was good, right? We knew that you was good. And I think by having this conversation that we're having today, it's a confirmation that you're good. And then to the businesses that has provided this pathway, because diversity matters. And so I'm glad we're having this conversation to the businesses. What I like to say to you, because either you can be what I call the gatekeeper and keep things status quo, or you can be a gateway. And I thank you for being a gateway for this young and powerful group. And so I celebrate all of you. And I think also when you take a snapshot of who we are right now, you see the value of diversity. And it's not in terms of a conversation. It's because of a relationship, right? I was able to call a brother named Carl and talk to him and have a conversation about the future. And so I think to each and every one of us, we have a role that we can continue to play to be a pathway for the future. And I salute each and every one. To my interns, I say to my intern, I tell you, in the old school, right on, right on, and thank you. And then to those who perhaps struggled initially with this internship, hey, I thank you for still providing a space for them to grow. As you can see and listen to their voices, they've gotten something out of this experience. And they've gotten something good out of the experience that they can move forward with. So my hat is off to all of us. And so, Juan, back to you, sir. I'm sorry.
No, I think that's welcome, because that's kind of where I wanted to end this last note, you know, is recognizing the large impact that you guys have made. And it hasn't been easy one bit, you know, to go into something without much structure, without much guidance. And you're here creating this path and making this impact in this company. You know, and I the last question really is like, you guys understand that like the solar sector is mostly white and it's mostly male, and all of us that participated here are of minorities here, and you guys are kind of like transitioning and getting a taste of what it is. And so I want to know how this internship affected your career path and your future direction. And so some of us notice that we don't want to like be inventory managers, right? Others notice that we like excel at like people skills. And so it's like, how did this internship really affect your career choice? And do you guys see yourself staying in the solar industry and pushing the boundaries on diversity overall? Why or why not? So with kind of like the same order of like the 7X participants, if Josh, and then afterwards we can be followed by Kristen, if you guys can start off, just the impacts of this internship to your future career path.
All right. So I guess in terms of like how it affected me and like my career, like how I'm going to advance my career, like once I graduate, I want to say that I've always had the intention of going into the renewable energy industry. Like my entire degree plan at UT is tailored towards going into renewables. But I would say is that like when I'm working at 7X, it kind of gave me a better understanding of like how is the solar industry like divided up into who does what in order to make sure that a project actually goes through. You know, like I had no idea that companies like 7X, you know, existed before this. Like I didn't know that there was companies where they would just come up with site plans and do all the engineering and then sell off the plan to like someone else to develop it. I did not know that was a thing. I didn't know that there was also companies that all they did was just the trackers, or all they did was just, you know, floaters for floating PV and stuff like that. So if anything, I think it's made me, okay, so now when I'm looking at the solar energy industry and trying to get that full-time position, it's just going to be, okay, now I know what sectors to go into, what sectors to avoid, and like where to work, you know? So I would say like that's the big benefit of like working at 7X. Really open our eyes to like what's possible out there for solar energy.
Excellent. Thanks, Joshua. Kristen?
Yeah, and I guess kind of to follow up on that, because it's a lot of like I used to think the same thing, is that there was only just one company that did the installation. Like I didn't really know anything about the solar industry, I guess. That there's just like the installation and the planning, but it was all one company. And there are companies that do that, but there's also, you know, obviously separate ones that just do the development of it and generation. And I don't know. I think so for sure, I do still want to continue in the renewable energy field for sure, and for solar specifically, because another thing that working at 7X taught me is the difference between residential and commercial utility scale. Like that seems like it's perfect, because especially if it's like a small team like 7X, because it's like it's fitting to the goals that I have of working in the field, like the technical part, like it being not so high off the ground, and being in like a big area and still traveling, like a lot of the aspects that fit for utility. And I lost that train of thought. Yeah, I guess it's impacted me, the internship, in a way that I want to continue in the field. Oh, renewable policy. Yeah, so I was talking to Maureen a lot about the BLM movements that are happening over the summer, and I still haven't like really dived. Is that a dove? I haven't dove into the renewable policy, but she gave me the idea of, because I was talking so much about, like, I was really getting to the politics of it, of possibly doing renewable policy. There's another thing too, is that I took away from it, is that it's like I learned so much about the industry and literally everything. I mean, I haven't taken any solar classes yet until this semester, and so everything about it. And then too, what I could also do beyond just like commercial, residential, utility scale solar, development or transmission. You know, it could also be renewable policy. So that's another thing that came out of it, and it really impacted me because it gave me experience. Like, and everybody's so cool, so dope. The whole industry, like everybody here, and then too, like all the small companies. Like, yeah, that's so yeah, that impacts me well.
That's right, because without the policy, we couldn't really put the technology in place, right? It'd be much harder. So like that is really important to push forward, and I think that's what's kind of like our ceiling, our high ceiling right now. That waiting for it to for us to like have greater access to renewables. Louis, is there anything you want to like share about like how this internship, you know, it's been a little different than your lifeguard experience, but overall, you know, you're going to go more into construction, right? So like, how is it that this impacted your future career choice? Like, do you decide a little bit, or do you have any clear idea whether or not you want to stay in solar?
Yeah. So actually it lined up like really well with my like personal goals and objectives, because I was like kind of, as a mechanical engineer, thinking, you know, like energy, either solar or oil and gas. But I don't know, I was thinking more like if I do like civil engineering or construction type engineering, like it would be more of like a large scale impact. I felt like, you know, I could have like a more direct involved role in it. And then going in to work for an electrical contractor, it really gave me like more of like a construction experience than like the like energy experience that I had been like actually seeking out to begin with. So it's really nice how those things lined up, and it really gave me like an inside view of like how the construction industry kind of works and how it is. And like I got to meet a few people in it in the Leander area, which was really cool. And so I was just like, yeah, it was really nice just being around people like that and just learning about how it goes.
Thanks, Louis. And Allison?
Yeah, so with my background in social movements and in environmental justice, and most recently diversity and inclusion, I hope to keep developing a career in solar to be a front runner in clean energy. Currently, I am pursuing a graduate degree and am in between programs of sustainable design and clean energy finance. But I also hope to be a part of the conversation that are pushing companies to make room for a diversity and inclusion employee at their table long term. As the ECEJ program has showed, diversity and inclusion is important and not going anywhere. So in continuing to reform the solar industry, I hope to be a part of that positive change.
Very well said, very well prepared. You know, and I maybe Nikaija had also prepared a little bit of an answer, and I wanted to hear maybe what Nikaija had to say about this.
Yeah, so okay, I didn't prepare an answer, so don't let me disappoint. But yeah, so working with Native Solar has really enforced my wantings to be within the clean energy sector and renewable field. Kind of like I said earlier, my whole purpose is really to help Black and Brown communities within this sector. And so like having the Black Lives Matter movement go on during this really kind of emphasized to me that it's one thing for people in the clean energy sector who are mostly white to know of injustices, but it's another thing to like really feel it and come from it. And so I feel like me staying within this field is adding a whole new perspective, because I've actually gone through some of the things I'm trying to fight, and that's not a lot of people can put that perspective into play when they're working within this field. So it really just kind of enforces the idea that I really am supposed to be in this field, and I really want to create change for Black and Brown communities.
That's true, and you're creating that every day. So thank you, Nikaija, so much. And I think last but not least is Coco.
Yes. Sorry, ultimately, how this has has like impacted my career path. I'd say that still remains to be seen. I'm definitely very interested in learning as much as I can. I've noticed that this industry actually has a lot more room, opportunity for growth than my previous. I've been just sort of everywhere, the open door and open window, some sort of thing that I can do. So I'm just
Oh no. I think we lost.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I see you over there, Coco. But I just heard that it's an open door and open opportunity, and I want to kind of piggyback on that and understand, like, you have all of you interns have a lot of resources here, right? And not just the mentors that you guys have had throughout these 10 weeks, but also like anyone that you see in the solar industry, which is something that I felt a lot when I was starting, was that we were all very much welcome because we're doing something that's like a lot bigger than ourselves. So feel free to reach out to anyone, right? Whether you have technical questions, you have any sort of like product questions, because we are a sector of like a lot of unity and a lot of kind of helping out each other succeed, whether we work for another competitors, you know, it's like we are all here to help each other out. And as you are kind of like growing, please don't hesitate reaching out. So I know Kaiba wanted to say a few words, you know, some closing remarks, as well as Carmelita, who also was a big pillar to getting this sector set up. So Kaiba, if you want to say something.
Carmelita, you can go.
Hold on, we'll unmute Carmelita. Carmelita, you're muted.
Thank you so much. I'm just beaming with just so much pride for these shining stars. In the beginning of the program, we just talked about how they pivoted in this middle of this pandemic and just rose to the occasion, landing these wonderful jobs, and these companies who rallied with us and just gave such great opportunities. And tonight is just a wonderful wealth of just so much gratitude, because I just see so much potential and hope for our future. I remember just like Kenneth, sitting, and Kaiba and Karen and all of you all, Beryl, we sat in those interviews and we just saw the potential. And it was very hard to select, you know, who should we pull through. But my goodness, tonight we see the companies and we see these shining stars, these change agents, because they are change agents. They are going to change the future, and you are our future. And I'm not going to preach, but I'm just going to say amen. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank you. Thank the companies. Thank Solar Austin. And thank you, interns. And just keep shining, keep shining, keep shining. We're depending on you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmelita.
Thanks. That's what I have to say is much in that same spirit. You know, first of all, my name is Kaiba. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the president of Solar Austin. And, you know, I met with a lot of the companies, either in person or remotely at the start. And maybe you haven't heard from me since, but you know, we've had this advisory committee, and Carmelita is one of the members of that have been following along and listening to what you have to say. And so just want to first thank the companies for, you know, stepping up and providing the opportunities. You know, I know that it takes a lot to take on an intern. I've had a lot of interns in my actual paid position. My commitment to Solar Austin is a volunteer thing, which I love. So I know that like internships, you give and you get. And to the interns, like, y'all are inspirational. I'm like just so like overwhelmed by all the wonderful things that you had to say tonight. I'm glad that so many of you had good, positive experiences, even if they weren't what you expected or what your employer expected. And that's, you know, I think reflective of life and, you know, the workforce in general, probably. So I'm glad that there was so much ability to adapt and, you know, find a way to have a successful, positive experience there. And just so glad that so many of you are looking to stay in the industry. I think that's wonderful. And also just want to say thank you to all of our partners, you know, aside from the companies who hosted. As I mentioned, we've had this advisory committee. Our partners at Huston-Tillotson University obviously were instrumental, key to getting this program off the ground. So want to really thank Karen for her work. I know that this has built off of past programs that she and Huston-Tillotson have developed, and want to really show appreciation for that. It's not a small thing, it's a huge contribution, and I think it's something that hopefully can have a lasting impact on the solar industry here in the Austin area and beyond. And also just want to thank Carmelita. She was you know, absolutely key in developing our content as it related to our inclusion and diversity kind of orientations, but also in just kind of helping us through a lot of different issues as we evaluated companies and interns and all of that. And John Paul with Piper Maddox offered an incredible level of kind of services to the interns at no cost to help them develop their skills, you know, even before they had internships. And some folks that didn't end up with internships still got to avail themselves of that job kind of training, resume prep, interview prep, and that was also a huge value add. So I want to just thank them for that contribution. Yeah, thanks. Nice to see your face, John Paul. And, you know, we also had others from Solar Austin, you know, contributing to that team. Kenneth, I think, is certainly the most notable board member who was just constantly there. And so just thank you, Kenneth, for, you know, your commitment.
Thanks, Solar Austin.
Yeah, and Kenneth is also on our board, and you know, I know that other board members have popped in and contributed, and thank you. You know, Rich is actually on our board too, so he's playing two roles here. So thank you for that. I think that this is work that definitely needs to continue, and it may come back in a slightly different flavor, or you know, different companies, hopefully some of the same, but I think this is a huge step for us to move forward. And I just want to say that, like, in the 14, 15 years of basically my whole career that I've been working in policy and energy, you know, I think this is the single thing that I'm kind of most proud of being a part of. So thank you all.
And Madam President, before we go, can we all give a shout out to Ms. Beryl?
Yes.
Can we give a shout out? Hey, yes. Hey, right on.
Yes, sorry, I was about to come back and like, oh, I forgot my closer. My closer is Beryl. Yes, so Solar Austin has been an all-volunteer organization for most of its time. And, you know, with our grant funding from the city, we were able to bring Beryl on. And she has been wonderful. She's jumped into a role that I know was new for her. And, you know, again, having to kind of like adapt and learn. And she's done a great job at that. And I think she, you know, has a lot of possibility ahead of her as she continues this work. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaiba. And thank you all. It definitely was a team effort to make this program possible and to make it the success that it was. It really came down to every single participant and every single supporter. So thank you so much. It's been a hell of a ride.
It's been a hell of a ride, and it's a very small step in a lot of work that we got to do. So we're trailblazers here, and we've carved the path for other programs to continue. So let's keep on at it, you know, one day at a time. And I really appreciate all you guys participating today. It's been a wonderful evening and a great celebration to these 10 weeks. If you guys have any other further questions, like, feel free to reach out to any of us through LinkedIn, through info@SolarAustin, through like any ways that you can find our names. You know, we, as I said before, we're super welcoming to any requests or any questions. So thank you, everyone, and let's keep on at it. You know, onwards and upwards, day by day. But we're making a big difference tonight. So have a great evening, and really appreciate all you guys tuning in.
Well done, Warren. Well done, sir. Well done. Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.